Good morning. Happy Thursday. It's time to get real. Are you ready? Mm-mm-mm. Good morning. It is Thursday. It is time to get real, and I know we are ready. And today we are talking about what are you afraid of? Okay, so there is there are blocks to success. Okay, blocks to your success, blocks to you getting what you want, something standing in your way, obstacles, whatever you want to call it. Okay. And in the book I'm reading still since November, Think and Grow Rich, although I'm almost done, um, Napoleon Hill in 1937 outlines 7 major positive emotions and 7 major negative emotions. And I'm just going to buzz through the positive emotions and talk briefly about that. And then we're going to talk about, there's a big one we're going to talk about. Okay, so 7 major positive emotions. These are the most powerful. So there are a lot of different positive emotions. And so when somebody says to you, oh, you just got to think positive, what does that mean? Okay, well, 7 major positive emotions are desire, faith, which we've talked about desire, we've talked about faith, love. We've talked about loving yourself, which I don't know if we've talked about that in terms of relationships of a significant other or something like that. So desire, faith, love, sex. I know we haven't talked about that, but if you want to, we can. Enthusiasm, romance, and hope. So these are the 7 most positive or the 7 most powerful positive emotions. Now, the 7 major negative emotions. Fear, top of the list. We're going to talk about that one. Fear, jealousy. I may or may not have a problem with that. Hatred, revenge, greed, superstition, and anger. Feeling one of these positive emotions, one of these negative emotions, and again, there are others. These are just the major ones. And I think if you're feeling the negative emotions more often, we have to make this conscious effort to change our thought process, which is really what this whole real life with Dawn LeFever thing is all about, is changing your thought process and changing your state of mind. Now, do you do that in one, 15-minute podcast no, of course not. This is an ongoing process. So everything we're talking about here is designed to help with that. And today we're talking about fear. The number one major negative emotion, fear, being afraid of something. And so, you might already have something that pops into your mind when I say that. Boy, I know I'm afraid of, X, Y, Z. And I mean, it could be something as simple as spiders, which I don't like. But I don't think a fear of spiders is probably keeping you from losing weight. You know what I mean? So it goes much deeper than that. When you're not succeeding, you are afraid of something. Okay. Um, so I looked up the definition of fear, just super simple definitions. And it says an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. Yeah, that's kind of a clue. So let's just say you want to lose weight, but you're not doing it, and you're afraid of something. You're afraid that something is going to cause you pain, possibly. Yeah, and it is painful in the moment when you really want, the donut, and everybody else is eating the donuts, and you don't get to eat the donuts. That's kind of painful. You're like, oh, that's a change. That's something hard to do. It is painful. Um, there's another one. Where was the other one? It says here, oh, fear. Dread, fright, alarm, panic, terror, trepidation, mean, painful, agitation in the presence or anticipation of danger. Fear is the most general term and implies anxiety and usually a loss of courage. So that's the problem with fear, is that it tends to um, it gives us, for lack of a better word, a loss of courage. It causes us to be uncourageous. Is that a word? And it kind of stops us in our tracks. We're not brave enough to face that pain or that anxiety or that agitation. that is standing in our way of getting whatever it is that we want, because we are afraid of something. And so, again, I'm taking a lot of this out of this book, Think and Grow Rich, because he outlines these emotions, but then he does like this whole chapter, how to outwit the 6 ghosts of fear. And so we have these 3 blocks to success, which we have to kind of clear out of our mind. We have to clear our mind in order to make room for the positive, you know? And it says these 3 blocks to fear, these huge ones, are indecision, doubt, and fear. Okay. So 6 basic fears: the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love of someone, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. And I tried to think about like which one of these fears: poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love of someone, old age, and death. And I have to say, you know, I want you guys to think about that and think about which one or ones, which of these fears do you think that you harbor the most? And I think the number one that stood out to me was fear of criticism. I don't want people not to like me. I mean, I wish I could say that I'm over that, but no, I'm still that. I want you to like me. I want you yeah, I want you to like me. And so I don't want you to think what I'm doing is wrong. And so when I get criticized for something, you know, or if I'm afraid I'm going to be criticized for something, that kind of stops me from doing whatever that something is. And so fears are nothing more than states of mind. So that's what you need to realize, is that your fear is a state of mind. And the beauty is your state of mind is 100% under your control. Again, you cannot control the first thought that comes into your head, but you can control all the other thoughts that follow that. So you have to ask, you in here it says there can be no compromise between poverty and riches. And poverty means here being poor of the things that you want. So if you want to be healthy and fit and, you know, eat well and be energetic, lack of those things would be poverty to you. I'm not necessarily talking about finances. I mean, it could be finances, but not necessarily talking about finances. Riches are getting what you want, whether that's, you know, health and fitness, weight loss, mending a relationship, whether it is actually a bigger bank account, whatever that might be. You have to define what poverty, rich, and riches are for you. It doesn't necessarily mean being rich or being poor. It means being rich or being poor in a certain area or areas of your life. So there can be no compromise between poverty and riches. If you want riches, you must refuse to accept any circumstance that leads to poverty. And one of the biggest circumstances that leads to your poverty is the wrong mindset or the wrong state of mind. So if you neglect to make the start or stop before you arrive, so that says there, if you are afraid to even try, you know, let's talk about weight loss again. If you're afraid to even try to lose weight because you think it might be too hard, or if you start but you come to the first, you know, obstacle and you give up, so you're afraid to make the start or stop before you arrive, no one will be to blame but you. And I think that is where we have the biggest problem, is that we have this fear inside of us, but instead of looking inward to ourselves to see how we can, I don't know if correct is the word, but manage that, overcome that, we blame it on everybody else outside of us, or all of the things outside of us. We cause blame, or we give blame or fault to someone or something else, when in actuality, sorry guys, here's the hard truth: it's your responsibility. You are to blame if you don't get what you want. You are to blame if where you are in your life right now is not where you want to be. I am to blame if my life right now is not where I want it to be. And so you have to, I think at the very first step is to accept that fact, okay? And that the responsibility is yours. But in order to accept that, there's one thing that you have to do, and that is know that these things are under your control by controlling your thoughts and your state of mind. So that is not something that you can buy. It's not something that someone else can give you. It's something that you have to create for yourself. And that takes some hard work daily. Okay. So you have to ask yourself, what is it inside of me? Analyze yourself and disclose the weaknesses that you don't really want to look at. And one of those things is your fears and what you're afraid of. And so, how do you do that? Well, I haven't read the whole chapter yet, but there are lots of steps to overcoming fear. And first, I think you have to figure out what your fear is. Okay. I have to say mine, again, fear of criticism, which I guess lends itself to fear of loss of love of someone as well. So you're criticized and then, they don't love you anymore, they don't like you anymore, or whatever. And those feelings are valid. However, I don't think you can help how you feel, but you can help how you think, so you can overcome how you feel. And so I think that's how we have to start looking at this. And the course I'm taking right now with this Michigan Medium Angels is a lot about using different techniques to overcome your fears and anxiety. And the one that we're using lately, or that I've been introduced to, and it's not new to any of us, is meditation. And so that's one of the things that I'm going to say is going to help you overcome your fears, is to do some meditations or some deep thinkings. And in the beginning of these success habits, these real life success habits, I called it silence. That can be prayer or meditation. Okay. I mean, if you can't just think, most of us don't just sit there and think nothing in silence. There's all these thoughts running through our brain. And one of the ways to kind of tap into that and to control that and to manipulate your thoughts in a good way to where you want them to go is through meditation. And I've done this twice now, and you guys, I cannot believe the things that have come out of this. I mean, it's a guided meditation. They send us these meditations to listen to. Last night's, I don't even know where this came from. It was crazy. It was crazy. So I tell the kids, I'm like, listen, because everybody's home at my house now. All of the kids live home, like Jillian's boyfriend's over. So like it's never just quiet in the house or anything. But I want to do this meditation. And I said, everybody, I'm going into my room and I'm going to meditate. And at first they rolled their eyes and laughed at me. And I'm like, well, whatever, laugh if you want. So I go in and she's doing this guided meditation. I'm trying to get all in the moment and it's hard. It's very hard to filter out the distractions. But she says, set your intention and blah, 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 blah. And so she's like, now let your mind go where it needs to go and, whatever. I'm definitely not going to guide you through meditation because, as you can see, I'm not that good at it. But she says, she's guiding me through this meditation. And she says, now think back to feel the feeling that you want to get rid of and think back to this life, the last time you felt this feeling, or in another life. And you guys, I don't believe in other lifetimes. I don't. I believe that there's this life and then there's the afterlife, there's heaven. But, keeping an open mind, going with it. So I'm letting my mind go. I saw myself in a bonnet, like in the in the Wild West in my past life. Now I'm totally awake. This is not a dream. And my husband, who is not my husband in this life, just some random faceless husband, was cheating on me with my best friend. What the hell? I was just I'm thinking, what is going on? This is where my brain is taking me. And it was crazy. It was crazy. So I'm thinking, is that where my fear comes from and my jealousy from a previous life in the Wild West wearing a bonnet? I don't know. Here's the thing, you guys, I'm having a hard time sifting through what I necessarily believe and what I don't. But in the meantime, I'm going with the flow and keeping this open mind about what is helpful and what's going to get me to my real life. So I don't know, meditation, you guys. I'm not 100% sure on my thoughts about it, but so far it has given me some experiences and some things to think about. And isn't that what personal growth is? Thinking about things in a way you've never thought about them before, causing you to act in a way that you've never acted before, ideally in a positive way. So that was my experience with meditation last night. And so I think that's one of the things that maybe you could try is to meditate about what it is that you're feeling afraid of. And then trying to maybe analyze that and use that information to help you go from fear, into love. And then another thing, I think face your fear, play it out in your mind. This is what I tell my kids to do, and this is what I've done. I used to have a big, big, big fear of death, of losing someone, loss of love of someone, and the fear of death. And for me, when I was very young, it was fear of loss of my parents and that they would die. And someone, sometime, and I don't remember when this was, said to me, well, then live out your biggest fear. Live it out in your mind. Okay, so what if? You say all these what ifs. Well, what if my dad gets in a car accident? Okay, what if he gets in a car accident? Well, then he could die. Okay, well, he could. Then what would happen? Well, I'd be devastated. True. What would happen after that? Well, I'd have to, figure out how to move on with my life. Exactly. Well, but without my dad, yes. Okay, so your biggest fear, losing someone you love, figuring, death, figuring out how to move on in life without them, and moving past it. So I just would play that out in my mind, and unfortunately, I guess fortunately, inevitably, I always found myself being okay. It was always like, all right, well, it would really suck for a while, but it would eventually be okay. You'd be able to pick up your life and you'd be able to move forward. Again, not move on. We talked about that a couple days ago. I think moving on and moving forward are different. Moving forward with your life means taking whatever that is with you and dealing with it as it presents itself. Moving on from it means you forget about it and leave it in your past. That's never going to happen. Okay. And and it happened to me 10 years ago. My dad passed away. It did suck and it still does. And I'm not over it, but I'm not, wasn't afraid of it anymore because I knew that I could handle it. And so gaining this confidence in yourself that we talk about, figuring out how to be fulfilled, figuring out how to deal with your fears, and then playing them out in your mind and just saying, well, what if? And just until you get to the answer that eventually you're going to be okay, then it makes things a little less scary. So I want you to think about that today. This is the topic of fear is so broad. I barely touched on it and definitely haven't done it justice. But I wanted to start planting that seed in your head because it's something that we're going to have to face is our fears. And first of all, we have to figure out what those are. And so I want you to take some time today and to think about it and to say, what am I really afraid of if I want to lose weight and I have it? What am I really afraid of if I wanted to start this business and I haven't? Which is something that I'm dealing with right now. What am I afraid of if I, with this relationship or confronting this person about what I'm feeling or problems that we're having, whether it's your significant other or a friend or, your parents or your kids, what am I afraid of when it comes to that? What am I afraid of if I decide to give myself a little grace and like myself? What am I afraid of, changing jobs? I hate my job so much and I want to change jobs. Well, why am I not? There are so many different things so many different fears that we have: fear of failure, fear of success, fear of, not loving or not. Well, let me reread those. Okay. Yours is most likely going to fall into one of these um, 6 categories, the 6 basic fears: fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love of someone, fear of old age, and fear of death. So start thinking about what that is. Use some meditation, face that fear in your mind, and let's start to tear down that block or that wall so that we don't have to carry those thoughts around in our head all the time. It is a state of mind and it is a choice. So, what do you choose? It's up to you. I am choosing to have a great day, and I will see you soon. Peace.